Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dear students and my viewers, wherever you are, and my colleague teachers, this is Mr. Ogada once again, a teacher of history and government at Alliance High School. It's my pleasure reaching out to you on this wonderful platform of the top-notch educational programs TV channel. And in this presentation, I'm going to continue with my presentation on paper 2, History and Government KCSE 2022, Section A, Analysis. Kindly get ready with your pens, writing pads or notebooks that you may be able to learn history and government for this time. And therefore, in my first presentation, I tackled question 1 to question 8 of Section A. You can find that presentation on our social media platforms in the YouTube. You just, look for the top-notch TV programs, and then it will be able to bring for you that presentation. But for now, allow me now to go to question number 8 of paper 2, section A, KCSE 2022. So on your screen, you can see that question. State 2 uses of electricity. State 2 uses of electricity during the Industrial Revolution in Europe. Now, this question is drawn from the topic development of industry. And therefore, again, it's from topic 4, Form 2 work. And here, now the examiner is focusing on the sources of energy that was used in the industries during the Industrial Revolution. And we are paying attention to the small detail. What is the small detail here? Electricity. Electricity at which stage? During the Industrial Revolution. We have those answers provided for you in, as you can see, 1, it was used in transport, locomotive, or used in trains. So it was the means of energy, the source of energy that was used for powering these different means of transport, so that they could now transport raw materials from the farms, or raw materials from the production points to the farms, or or transporting again these raw materials from the farms to the industries. It depended on where you are transporting it from. The farm inputs, wherever they were manufactured, to the farms. Also the produces, whatever was, harvested from the farms after that particular agricultural period. So therefore, it was very, very critical that electricity came hand in hand to be used for transport. Number 2, it was used in iron smelting, again as a source of energy. Number 3, used in heating or cooking, which again is even used today. Most of our households, we use electricity as a source of energy to cook food or to heat whatever we want to. Then it was used in lighting industries in homes. Electricity used as a source of lighting. Then it was used in telecommunication systems, communication purposes. Our mobile phones rely on electricity. Telephones, whatever communication gadgets that you have, they rely on electricity. Then it was used to power machines in factories or industries, powering of machines in factories or industries. Then we move to question number 9, the people who founded the ancient city of Meroe. This is drawn from the topic urbanization, topic 5, Form 2 work. So the question is direct. The people who founded the city of Meroe, those are the Nubians. You can read much from this topic. Read about towns like Kilwa, Greece. You go to the modern ones like Johannesburg in South Africa, Nairobi in Kenya, London in Europe or in Britain. So, you need to read. And mostly, again, you need to find out factors for their rise or for their growth, and also factors for their decline. Factors for their rise, factors for their decline, because as I normally say, you are likely to meet such questions in the subsequent questions that you'll be coming across. Number 10, give 2 economic activities of the early humans during the Middle Stone Age. Economic activities of the early humans during the Middle Stone Age. This is drawn from the topic early man. the topic early man. And remember, the early man had the cultural practices that they participated in as a community. And these cultural practices are divided into three stages. These stages were basically called the Stone Age periods, because man basically used stones during this period to make their tools. So we have the first stage called the Old Stone Age. The second stage is the Middle Stone Age. Then the last stage is called the New or the Late Stone Age. And therefore, in describing the cultural practices of early man, the way of life of early man, there were economic activities that they engaged in. There were also social activities that they engaged in. There were political activities that they engaged in. And now the examiner is going for the economic activities and drawing it from the Middle Stone Age, not just any other Stone Age, but the Middle Stone Age. The Middle Stone Age is associated with Homo erectus. Actually, some people, we normally say that associated with two creatures, we have Homo habilis. As now the Old Stone Age was ending, Homo habilis comes in, and then we have the Homo erectus. So if somebody was to ask you two creatures associated with the Middle Stone Age, then you'll talk about, Homo habilis during the early stages, and then as the stage was advancing, now we have Homo erectus. But if you are asked only one creature associated with the Middle Stone Age, then you'll talk about Homo erectus. What were some of the economic activities that they engaged in? One, hunting of wild animals. Please, to be safe, you have to mention what they hunted. Don't just say hunting. Say hunting of wild animals. Two, tool making. Three, fishing, especially those that lived along rivers or along water sources. Three, gathering of wild fruits. Don't just say gathering, because also human beings can gather. Just say gathering of wild fruits, or gathering of roots, gathering of eggs, gathering of tubers, things like that. Then we have weapon making. And remember, the weapons that they made were basically called the Acheulean tools in the Middle Stone Age. Some people will say Sangoan, but I think you can talk about Acheulean tools or the Sangoan tools for this particular stage. So those are the economic activities that Homo erectus engaged in during the Middle Stone Age period. Number 11, name one type of constitution. This is drawn from the topic constitution and constitution making. Constitution and constitution making. Now, visit our YouTube channel, Top Notch TV programs, and you'll come across where I discussed the different topics of both paper 1 and paper 2. And in my discussion, I mentioned that we have 17 in paper 1, 17 in paper 2, but there's a special category of topics that are shared between paper 1 and paper 2. And the constitution topic is an example because it is largely a paper 1 topic. But we have areas or questions that can be tested or drawn from this topic and tested in paper 2. So, like now, this question, it can be a question of paper 1. At the same time, it can be a question of paper 2. Therefore, the answer that we expected you to write was written or unwritten constitution. Again, as my good student and my dear viewer, move a step further. Ask yourself, what is this that we call a written constitution? And what is it that we call unwritten constitution? And when we say unwritten, do we mean that this is a constitution that is not written down? Maybe for purposes of clarity, I want to say that a written constitution is that type of constitution where all the provisions of that particular document is put in one single document. All the provisions, the laws governing a particular land, those regulations, they are all put under one document. That is what we call a written constitution. What about unwritten constitution? This is where the provisions are scattered in different documents. So you will find a document handling human rights separate, a document handling governance or leadership and integrity as a separate document, a document handling maybe the houses of parliament. You know, we have the legislature of parliament. You have a document talking about the executive. So when they are scattered far apart, then that is what we call now an unwritten constitution. A good example of a country that uses the unwritten constitution is Britain. So you'll be asked, name one country in the world that uses the unwritten constitution. Your answer should be Britain. So that is clear up to that point. Question number 12. Question number 12. State two ways through which direct democracy is exercised in the society. State two ways through which direct democracy is exercised in the society. Again, this is another shared topic between paper 1 and paper 2, though it is largely paper 1. And you are being asked about direct democracy. Remember, we have two types of democracies. We have direct democracy or indirect democracy. So, how do citizens exercise their direct democracy? One, we have through recall or removal of an elected leader on whatever grounds they would put across, through plebiscite. Plebiscite is a popular vote that is done or taken on a matter of national interest. Then we have referendum. We have through initiative. Then we have through public meetings or barazas. So those are the ways through which direct democracy is exercised in the society. Next time you'll be asked ways through which indirect democracy, where now we have representatives that have been elected by the people to go and represent them, maybe in the National Assembly like in Kenya or in the Senate in Kenya. So when we have these leaders representing the citizens' views in different forums, that is called an indirect democracy. And remember, it is a donated privilege by the citizens to their elected leaders. Then number 13, give two countries in West Africa which were colonized by the French. Give two countries in West Africa which were colonized by the French. We have this question drawn from the topic European invasion and the process of European invasion of Africa and the process of colonization. European invasion of Africa and the process of colonization. And we are being asked here to identify countries in West Africa. So you have to be a very smart student to, take your thoughts all the way to all those different regions that the Europeans, came and colonized colonies in different parts of Africa. And then now again, you focus on the power, the region and the colonizer or the power. So in this case, we have the French, being identified with the countries in West Africa. Which were these countries in West Africa that the French colonized? They include, as you can see on your screen, Upper Volta or Burkina Faso. We have Mali, we have Dahomey or Benin, Senegal, Guinea, Mauritania, we have Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire, then we have Niger. These are the countries in West Africa which were colonized by the French. If I were you, I would now go and sit down and write the different colonial powers that came and acquired colonies in Africa. Like you will write Britain. Identify all the countries that Britain colonized and in different regions. Then number 2, you go to Portugal or the Portuguese. You identify the countries that they colonized and in which regions were these countries based. You come to the French, and that will help you, prepare for any question that can be tested again from this section in the subsequent in the subsequent exams. Number 14, name one type of spirit among the Shona. Name one type of spirit among the Shona. This is drawn from the topic number 6 of Form 2 work, and that is social, economic, and political organization of African societies in the 19th century. And these African societies, we are looking at 3. From West Africa, we are looking at the Asante. From East Africa, we are looking at the Buganda. And then from Southern Africa, we are looking at the Shona. So the examiner went and picked out a question from the Shona community. And the examiner was asking about the type of spirit. For example, Vadzimu, or was known as the family spirit, Muhondoro, also called the clan spirit. Then we have Chaminuka, also called national spirit or Chamiruka. So therefore, good people, those are the answers that we expected you to write as far as those spirits are concerned. And please, remember, this is drawn from the social organization of the Shona. Remember, I mentioned that Section A tests on small details. Section A focuses on small details. So like now, they have gone to, from that whole subtopic of social organization of the Shona, and then among the those description, then the examiner simply goes for the spirit or a type of spirit among the Shona community. Very, very important that you pay attention to the small details. Then number 15, identify the political party which led Ghana to independence. Identify the political party which led Ghana to independence from their colonial master, the British. Now, remember, this is from the topic nationalism in Africa, the rise of African nationalism. Now, this is drawn from Form 3 work, the rise of African nationalism. And, you know, very small details there. We have gone to nationalism in Ghana. Now, nationalism in Ghana, remember, we have nationalism in Ghana, nationalism in South Africa, and then we also have nationalism in Mozambique. Ghana, South Africa, Mozambique. Each country of discussion has a special reason why we have them taught in our syllabus. For example, if you talk about Ghana, Ghana is a classic example of a country that attained her political independence through the peaceful methods, peaceful means, without actually going the violent way. And remember, it's also special because it was the first country to attain her political independence in Africa in 1957. Why Mozambique? Mozambique is a classic example of a country that attained her political independence through the violent means. So you talk about Ghana, peaceful. Mozambique, violent. What about South Africa? What makes it unique? First, colonized by two powers. We have the Boers or the Afrikaners, and then we also have the British. But as if that is not enough, remember, it was again one of the countries in Africa to attain very late independence in the year 1994. So therefore, very, very important that even as you revise, those are some areas that, you know, as you read, you go back to your texts. Get such interesting information, because you never know, next time it might be featured in your exam. So therefore, we go to now the question, political party that led Ghana to independence. The answer is Convention People's Party. Convention People's Party. Kindly look at what I'm going to write on that screen. I've written that word. This word is convection. What I've written. It is not correct to say convection as the political party. You pay attention to and convention. But people normally, loosely say, it's called the Convection People's Party. It's called convention. So this is what is correct. Convention People's Party. And again, desist from abbreviation. We do not mark abbreviations in history and government. So don't come and tell us CPP. CPP can mean so many things. CPP can mean so many things, depending on what you want to put across. You can even say Chama People's Party, Chamenuka People's Party, whatever you want to say. So please don't abbreviate, neither confuse and say convection. It is convention. I think that is clear. As we now wind up section A, we look at question number 16, 2 roles which were played by the Council of Ministers in the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Remember, now we have AU. This is drawn from the topic Cooperation in Africa, topic 3, Form 4 work, Cooperation in Africa, and we have those regional organizations. We have OAU, AU that are discussed there, the East African Community. You talk about ECOWAS, COMESA. But now we have this question here, the role of the Council of Ministers. They prepared agenda for the Assembly of Heads of State and Government. They are preparing of the OAU budget, not AU, it's OAU. Implementing decisions made by the Assembly. And then we have attending to urgent matters of the OAU. Now, remember, these ministers were drawn from the different African states that were members of the Organization of African Unity. Lastly, as we wind up question number 17, section A, paper 2, KCSE 2022, name the headquarters of the United Nations. This is drawn from the topic International Relations. International Relations, topic 2, Form 4 work. Remember, after the end of the Second World War, they formed the United Nations to replace the League of Nations. And the headquarters of the UN are based in the New York. The headquarters of the UN are based in the New York. Now, therefore, my dear student, that brings us to the end of section A, paper 2, KCSE 2022, History and Government. Remember, I've always mentioned that please, in case you miss out on anything during your interactions with these lessons, you can always check our online programs, our online social platforms. That is on YouTube. You simply look for top-notch TV programs, top-notch TV program, and you'll come across so many of these video tutorials that will assist you in preparing for your examinations in history and government. With you has been Mr. Ogada, a teacher of history and government at Alliance High School, and it's my prayer that you keep following, because in my next presentation, I'll now be bringing you to paper 2, KCSE 2022, History and Government, Section B. I believe you do not want to miss out. Thank you and stay tuned.